Welcome to GDPLive Premium. My name is Christoph Schumacher, and in this short video I will walk you through our new tourism dashboard. Select the Tourism Dashboard tab on the left-hand side of the window. You will now see a variety of values that relate specifically to the tourism industry in New Zealand. The purpose of this dashboard is to provide real-time estimates of international visitor numbers to New Zealand, as well as the economic contributions they make to the economy. The estimates are driven by machine learning and transaction-level data generated by foreign cardholders and provide a live snapshot of what is happening in this sector right now. On the top right-hand corner, you'll see a date. This date indicates how recent all the estimates are on the dashboard. This dashboard will be updating on a daily basis. On the left, there is detailed information on international visitor numbers and their spending patterns at the national level. The data for visitor numbers is sourced from the international travel and migration data sets originating from the New Zealand Customs Service and supplied by Statistics New Zealand. This data comes with an approximately 2 months reporting lag period. The total international spend data is sourced from the quarterly International Visitor Survey, which has a slightly longer reporting lag period. The aim with all our estimates here is to project forward and to intelligently predict what the values in the gaps are between the last release of the official figures and today. This is what the two different colors represent on the graphs. In teal, we have the official data points, while the red data points are the most recent estimates. Let's take a closer look at the rows. The top row provides annual percentage changes for both visitor numbers and their total expenditure in New Zealand. We calculate the annual percentage change for each month, meaning that we take into account the previous 12 months at each point and compare the sums with the previous 12 months period. To the immediate right of the graphs, in the first row, one can see what the last value is for the current month. This value will refresh each day in the current month as new data comes in. Directly below, one can see in absolute terms the total annual visitor spends and expenditure. The row below provides information on how each month compares to the same months of the previous year, expressed as a percentage change. This will help you to get a feeling of how the sector is performing without the distortion of seasonal effects. Once again, the values to the right reflect the most recent estimates as well as the total visitors and expenditures for the current month, in this case November. One thing to keep in mind for these two graphs is that they can slightly under or overestimate as we head into the peak season and as we come out of them respectively. This slight under and overestimation will disappear as we get closer to the end of the month and all the data inputs become available. We see this currently happening in these graphs with estimates of around 15% reduction in visitors and expenditures, which will correct and adjust over the next 10 days or so. The next row displays seasonally adjusted monthly totals, which are consistent with how Statistics New Zealand reports these trends. These graphs remove the seasonal component from the figures and preserve only the trend as well as random fluctuations. Together with the monthly percentage changes, these graphs offer another perspective on the trends. The final row looks at momentum changes for both visitor numbers and spend. These two graphs require a little unpacking. What we are trying to highlight here is how much the annual percentage growth rates are accelerating and decelerating. We achieve this by first smoothing the annual percentage change figures in the first row and then subtract the figure from the previous year. Therefore, these two graphs show us how much momentum there is in current annual growth rates compared to what was happening 1 year ago. Now, immediately to the right of these graphs, we are estimating the mean visitor spend for each month of the year, showing how these trends have changed historically, as well as our estimates for the months where official figures do not exist. Now, in New Zealand, almost 80% of all our visitors come from 5 countries. A high reliance on a few countries for the visitors does bring some risks should any of these nations experience economic shocks. The section on the right-hand side represents an ongoing piece of work where we first display the changing composition of the visitors, but more interestingly, we try and predict possible downturns in visitor arrivals from the top 5 countries. Our models take into account exchange rate volatility, economic activity, and disposable income levels in order to predict the degree of possible upswing or downturn in visitor numbers from these countries over the course of the next 3 months. Let's now scroll down to the regional specific information. We are particularly pleased to have been able to successfully replicate estimates for visitor numbers as well as spend at the granular level that breaks down estimates across 31 regions, tourism organizations, as well as districts as tracked by Statistics New Zealand. From the 2 drop-down menus, you can select a specific month and year and choose if you're interested in visitor numbers or spend. Once you've made your selection, you will see the corresponding values for annual percentage changes, annual totals, trend and percentage change momentum. You will notice that there's a slight departure from the way we report national figures, in that we are not yet able to report specific figures for a given month, but instead present annual figures for each month. The trend figures represent data which has the seasonal and random components subtracted from it in order to highlight the general direction. You can also select multiple specific regions, and to the right the corresponding graphs are displayed. This is great for benchmarking your region against other regions in New Zealand. You will notice dashed lines in the graphs. You will also notice for the spend graphs that the estimates begin from January 2016. This is the point at which official recording of these figures ceased, and we are particularly excited to be able to revive these figures through machine learning estimates in order to offer regions and districts an indication of how their local economy is being affected through visitor numbers. This concludes our short video on the tourism dashboard of GDPLive Premium. So all there is for you to do is to log in and try it out yourself. Thanks for listening. Bye.